When the fall of X was happening, Polaris was stunning like her daddy. Lord knows that needs to continue, because that was fantastic reading. My name is Doran. This is SEM Comics. We are continuing our coverage of X Factor with number 2. So the story starts off in Malibu, California, where Alex Summers, aka Havok, is waking up. Polaris is like, "Where are you going?" And he's like, "I got a meeting with the general." And she's like, "Oh, they're going to get your measurements for your body bag." And he's like, "Look, we're going over what happened in the first mission to see why they died." And she's like, "It's easy. Explosive, because they got blown up." So Polaris is like, "I wish you would come with me to a meeting." And he's like, "Oh, you're meeting with your cult?" She's like, "It's not a cult. It's a bunch of like-minded mutants having to deal with being back in the human world now that Crow is gone." So she's like, "We need each other." And Havok's like, "What do you think I'm trying to do with X Factor? I'm trying to keep these kids on the right side of a coffin." And she goes, "By working with humans to attack mutants?" And he's like, "That's one mission." And she goes, "It's always just one mission." So Roger walks in. He goes, "Doesn't look good for Angel. Looks like he's going to be in the hospital for a long time. He might not even survive. So you're the team leader." And Havok's like, "You're telling me all this while eating a corn dog?" And he was like, "Oh, it's a new power dog diet that I'm on. I'm supposed to eat 10 of these a day." So then Power walks in with a pina colada, and he's like, "Oh, this is your new second in command." And he's like, "Are you serious? Like, the dude used to be on the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants." And then Roger's like, "Yeah, but he uses fire, and fire is useful." And then he says, "You're also going to be wearing these button cams," and it literally says button cam on it. And he's like, "It's cool for capturing all the content for our sponsor, ClickLock." Let me just tell you, this part took a lot of takes to finally say ClickLock and not TikTok. So Havok's like, "I'm starting to think that our safety is not your top concern." And Roger's like, "You're not wrong, but it is a respectable second." So Havok's now sitting down with the general and Roger. Havok's like, "What happened on this mission?" And the general's like, "What happened is that they knew we were coming. That means we have a mole." And then they show Lorna, like she's passing information to the enemy. And Havok's like, "No, she wouldn't do that." So then we go back to the Factor house where you got Pyros in the pool heading on Cecilia. Hey, you got Cypher, who looks small as hell next to Frenzy. I mean, Frenzy is just so much bigger than him. It is not funny. And Granny Smite just walks into the pool and goes under. And Cypher's like, "Should I do something?" And Frenzy, still sipping on a pina colada, is like, "Yeah, you might want to." He jumps in, grabs her, gets her out of the pool. So as Granny Smite starts to call, Cecilia's like, "Are you okay?" She gets up, she's like, I'm fine. I'm an immortal mutant," which at my age becomes an issue. So she's like Apocalypse and Selene, which means she lives forever, but as they look young, Granny Smite, she doesn't get that luxury. So she's like, "So these days, I just try to find new ways to die." So Frenzy walks up and is like, "Well, since you didn't die, why don't you celebrate with this pina colada?" So Havok is still arguing with the general about Polaris, and Roger's sitting there, and he's like, "You might have a power dog?" So then the general is like, "Look, we need to find out who's feeding the enemy our secrets so this doesn't happen again." So then we cut to that night where Havok decided to join Lorna and go with her to her mutant kind of outreach program. And a big old hand answers the door. Well, a hand that, I guess a head that's shaped like a hand. You know what I mean. So the meeting starts with this dog-like mutant, and he's saying, "Before we proceed, we need to show praise to our founder, Jovis," who, I don't know who Jovis is. I know some of you guys are like, "How do you not know who Jovis is?" I do not know who Jovis is. So then he says that most of you guys know my story, but for those of you who don't, let me go ahead and explain it real quick. His mutant ability kicked in a little bit before puberty. He was already in an orphanage, so the powers that be was like, "Well, we can't give him to anybody now, so we need to find a family member." And they did. They found an uncle, and the uncle took him in right to a carnival where he was a sideshow act. So pretty much as he tells his story, he's like, "You cannot trust the humans. The humans only have your worst interests in mind." So Havok's like, "Oh, is this supposed to be like some kind of intervention?" So Havok's like, "You want me to play both sides? You want me to be your spy?" And dude's like, "No, it's not like that. We just want you to quit. We don't want you working for him." So then all of a sudden these soldiers come in and they look at Havok's button, and again it says button cam right on it, and they're like, "They're spying on us." So of course Lorna can't believe it. She feels betrayed. They go back to the general. Roger's like, "We gotta get him out of there." General's like, "Already done." So they grab Havok, the dog mutant, to try to stick up for him. they pretty much pistol whip him or butt stroke him if you're in the military. And they're like, we're not doing it your way no more. We're doing it our way. And they're like, get her. So the Havok starts to power up and it's like, you touch her. And as I was reading this, all I was thinking to myself, like, the last person you need to worry about in this room is Polaris. So the Havok uses his powers on one of the soldiers, sends him flying. Another soldier pretty much draws down on him. And Polaris is like, I don't know, I don't think so. Takes the metal statue of the founder and throws it right at him. So then X Factor appears in the X-Jet, because everybody gets an X-Jet now. And somebody's like, there's hostiles approaching. And then we see a soldier gets thrown to the door as Frenzy is cracking her knuckles. So the dude that's on the ground that got hit with the statue is like, kill them all now. And Pyro goes, fire is useful. That's the wrong dude to be second in charge. So then they get Havok on the plane. He's reaching for Polaris, like, come with me. And Polaris like, no, I'm not going with you. All of a sudden the soldiers grab her, and I'm thinking to myself like, oh man, she's gonna be captured. And I start thinking to myself like, she doesn't really care, because whenever she wants to, she can leave that place because she can pretty much take out everybody there. Now while all the fighting's going on, Polaris thinking to herself to how she told Havok about this poem about the sailor who killed this albatross because he thought that it was bad luck. Problem is that they all died at sea, and the reason why they died is because they killed the albatross. Because the one thing that a bird knows when they're out to sea is how to get to land. All they had to do was follow the bird and they survived. But they didn't, and he died. And that's what she feels like Havok is doing. Don't cut off the one person that can lead you home, as he is yelling for her as they fly away.